Sometimes in life, we enter environments thinking they will help us grow. Sometimes it happens like that, but instead, they make us forget who we are, not because they are bad, but because the certain location or the environment whereby you find yourself are not the actual people you're supposed to be with at the first place. So today I just want to speak honestly, like not to attack anybody, not to seek pity, but to remind someone listening to me right now that your dream did not begin because somebody gave you permission. Just remember that. And your dream will not end because somebody stopped believing in you or somebody stopped trusting in you. Many people don't know this, but let me say this. Before I have access to podcast setup, before I have access to cameras, or before I have physical podcast session, I already have a podcast online. I was recording with my phone, creating online, speaking from my heart. It wasn't perfect, but it was so real. I started with passion, not equipment. But, when I joined new workplace, things became different, For the first time, I started doing physical podcasts, recording, using better equipment, better space. And honestly, I appreciated that experience. I learned, I improved, I grew creatively. But sometimes, growth also reveals where you truly belong. There's something very painful about being in a place or space whereby you're no longer valued, appreciated, or most importantly, trusted. It creates a certain negative atmosphere around the space, of which somebody like me, it affects my spirit, body, and soul, which I don't want. But sometimes not because you hate anybody, but because your spirit can feel when an environment is no longer conducive or aligned with your purpose and vision in life. And one thing I've learned is this: when people don't trust you or your vision or something you're doing, eventually it starts creating, unconducive atmosphere, uncomfortable feeling to start making you shrinking yourself just to fit in, that kind of stuff. Look, I resigned from a certain workplace recently, and somebody asked me a question from the organization. She was like, "So how are you going to continue your podcast now?" And honestly, that question stayed in my mind for almost a week. Not because it hurt me, but it made me to remember something very, very powerful. I had already started before them. The equipment, the office space was never the source of the vision. The vision came first. In fact, and that's what I want somebody listening to me today to understand. Do not become so dependent on an environment that you forget your own creativity. Please and please. Yes, support is beautiful, resources are important, but never let anybody make you feel like your dreams cannot survive without them. Some of the greatest things begins with a small phone, a little money, and a big vision. So no, I'm not stopping. If anything, this season reminded me why I started in the first place. Not for validation, not for status, not because everything was perfect. I started because I had something to say, and I would do it. If you're listening to this and you feel unseen, undervalued, or stuck in the wrong environment, don't give up on yourself. Sometimes living is not failure. Sometimes living is the beginning of becoming who you are meant to be. Thank you for listening and welcome to the new chapter. Akamukasaba.